Hi, everyone. I'm Giulio Coraggio, technology partner at DLA Piper, and this is the podcast Diritto Digitale. Today, I'm delighted to have here Luca Cassina, Executive Vice President Customer Success EMEA at Mirakl. Welcome, Luca, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Giulio.
So, Luca, we were discussing before this podcast, we met over 10 years ago when you were at PayPal in Italy, then you moved to PayPal in Paris, but your career is really a very complex process where you went from very small, from startups to multinational US companies. Now you are at Mirakl. Can you tell us a bit what about your career, and if there was any sort of a line connecting the dots, as Steve Jobs would say, some common ground that is a continuing line in your career path?
Yeah, I started my career in retail. I actually started at Leroy Merlin, or Leroy Merlin, if you prefer, a DIY French retailer. Then I was a headhunter. I had my own startup in 1999, an online recruitment website. Then I was in classified in Switzerland. Then I was at PayPal for 10 years in a number of roles, including being a managing director for Western Europe. I started in Italy, then moved to Paris. Then I was at Amazon in Luxembourg, and finally landed in 2019 at Mirakl, which is a French scale-up, or a unicorn, as they say. So yeah, it's quite articulated. To go back to your question on what is connecting the dots, for me, I don't see my career as linear. No, some people, they start in a function and then move on and continue to progress. I've always been excited by new things, by roles that were innovative. And so what I'm really looking for is really something which is on the cutting edge all the time.
Okay, so it's a continuous adventure, but is there some experience from the past that you were able to use on any additional step of your career? I assume that you were not starting from scratch each time you were taking on a new role, but maybe the way you're dealing with people, the day you will dealing with new projects. I remember you at PayPal, you every day you were thinking about a new project, and you were actually a challenge for your team, because obviously they were a bit scared of the new thing that could come to your mind.
So listen, two things. First of all, is obviously people management is extremely important. This is something I had the chance to learn very quickly, very early in my career. Being in retail, you need to manage pretty large teams when you're young. But I would say more important is that in the last 20 years, I've been in the network business, the network economy, meaning that I've been working for companies that have this network effect. The network effect means that every time that there is a new player that comes into the network has a higher value. Right? Think about it as the telephone. But if only you have a telephone, you can call yourself. That's not very interesting. If two people have a telephone, you can call each other. There is some value. If every single person on earth has a telephone, that's a huge value, because anybody can call anybody. And so this is the concept of the network business, which worked extremely well on the internet. And this is what is also called a platform today. The value of a platform like Airbnb or Uber or back in the days, eBay, is that every time that there's a new seller, the new seller is available to all the buyers. And every time that there is a buyer, the buyer can buy from every seller. And so every new player that comes into the network makes the value of the company and value of the network grow exponentially.
Okay, so it's really interesting. It makes me think how companies that are starting new markets, sometimes they fail because they are too new, and so there are not enough players in the market. I don't know, I'm thinking about Tesla. Tesla has become the giant that it is, but before it had to create the market of electric cars to dominate, to be able to become the largest player in that market. And same thing happened for the payment services. Now, when that you are a Mirakl in relation to e-commerce platforms, is this the concept? You need to create a market in order to lead that market.
You can think about this as creating the ecosystem around your company, and creating, kicking off the ecosystem is complicated. But when the flywheel takes it starts spinning, it goes faster and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. No, sure. And I guess that this is definitely happening at the moment in the market of Mirakl, that is an online marketplace platform. It comes to my mind that have very traditional clients that, as a consequence of the pandemic, started realizing that an e-commerce platform was important for their business. And then multiple e-commerce projects started popping up. And to be honest, sometimes there was a bit of a chaos around which project had to move ahead. But from my understanding, Mirakl is aimed at serving these clients that want to enter into the e-commerce market and need a sort of support.
Yeah, so Mirakl is a software company, is what we call the software as a service, meaning that you don't need to put everything is in the cloud. You don't need to put the software in your servers. It's also basically a back office to quickly create a marketplace. So a marketplace is an e-commerce where you invite third-party sellers to your website. And so this is, in a sense, is Amazon's playbook that can be enabled with Mirakl. The beauty of this marketplace model is that you sell without buying anything, basically, because you sell. In reality, the people who are selling are your sellers on the marketplace. So you don't take the inventory risk. Okay. And you don't need space in your warehouse, so it's sort of a dream business model for retailers, making money without any risk, any working capital, and so with this pandemic, more and more companies have realized that e-commerce is not an option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So did you, but did you experience also the part of speaking about what an e-commerce platform requires to companies of a large size in 2021? I mean, you started dealing with internet over 20 years ago, and talking about what an e-commerce platform requires in 2021 seems something a bit awkward. What is the status of the market that you envisaged in approaching new clients that all of a sudden decided that they needed to exploit their e-commerce potentials?
Well, the reality is that the things that were acceptable 20 years ago, but even 5 years ago, are no longer acceptable today. The customers' expectations are very high. They want a large assortment, they want a competitive price, and they want quick delivery. Now, this is coming back over and over as a feedback from all the buyers who are being educated by Amazon, that you can find a very large range and a good price and delivery tomorrow. And so many companies are now coming late to the internet and to e-commerce. That's not a problem. No, there are many opportunities, but the quality of the service remains key, and the expectation of the customers have changed a lot in these past years.
So basically, the benchmark is higher at the moment because maybe 20 years ago it was something new, and customers expected to get their parcel with some days of delay. Now, especially after the pandemic, where basically everyone has been living on e-commerce purchases, the expectations are higher. And if you want to compete, you need to provide a better service, which means that companies like yours become more crucial, because I guess that a newcomer in the e-commerce market is not able to create that infrastructure that your company can provide as a sort of a turnkey solution.
Yeah, there is Mirakl. And by the way, this Mirakl is not the only tool that you need to create an e-commerce. You need, for instance, a payment service provider. You need logistics. But this is all available. And there are plenty of opportunities today to launch a good e-commerce in the market. And what I also believe is that this pandemic is just showing us the future. No, it's a bit of an exceptional time, but it's just a preview of how the world will look like in the next 10 years. It's just accelerating at some trends that were already there in reality. So it's been really eye-opening for a lot of people that have been waiting to move to e-commerce for a long time.
Yeah, that is an interesting point, because we noticed also some very large online marketplaces that are now opening retail shops, which seems a sort of a contradiction. And while the message that I receive from you is don't expect that your customer is gonna come back to your normal shop and everything's gonna become as it was 18 months ago, your online marketplace will remain one of the main channel of distribution of your products. So maybe the additional challenge is also, how do you make the online experience so similar to the retail experience?
Yeah, and for me, it's also, how do you make it seamless? How do you combine the strength of brick and mortar and online? We see clearly a shift in how people shop. We see the decline of hypermarkets. We see that the proximity stores are coming back. In big cities, we see more and more small shops or corner shops, and we see also that customers, they like to buy online, but they are also okay to pick up in store. They want to return in store. In some cases, we see companies that are also sending people from the store to the online. So, for instance, if you don't have all the products in your store, you can show them on a tablet or a computer in store, and people pay in store and can receive at home. So I would say these two channels are they complement each other.
Yeah. Do you see, we spoke about all the good things of this migration. Do you see any challenge in this process towards online that maybe will determine who will be leading the market in the next, 4 or 5 years? Maybe those that cannot adjust to the change.
I think customers, all of us as customers, they still like to go out and shop and go to, not just to shop online, but also go around and visit and see the products. I think there will be more and more showrooms popping up. We already see companies that are creating showrooms for e-commerce, so that the customers can see the product, can touch, can try the product before they buy it. And so you see that you cannot make it entirely digital. There's still a part of our brain that wants to see the product, and so some sort of hybrid customer experience will be emerging in the coming years.
But do you believe that those sort of 3D tools that try to create how our dress is gonna look like on you, how a pair of glasses are gonna look on you, or try to make you feel a leather or a specific fabric remotely, are just a sort of buzzword of the last months, or are they really going to create a value added for an e-commerce platform?
No, of course, they will create some value. It's just going to take a bit longer. I haven't seen anything ready today. But yeah, no, I know many companies that are investing in this area, especially fashion, because fashion is one of the most complicated industries, especially to buy online. The return rate is very high. It's very difficult to get the right size, and you don't always understand the fit or the shape of something you buy online. So this is clearly something that is a pain point, and will be emerging. Although I haven't seen anything really well done until now, but it will emerge, I think, quite soon.
No, absolutely. This makes me think that also a detailed profiling of customers will be always more profound, because basically, if I need to provide you a service that actually fits all your needs, I need to know you pretty well, and otherwise you're gonna get annoyed and decide to go back to retail shops that will still be open in our streets. But as you said, maybe they will change, because I remember when you were at PayPal, we discussed several times about multiple channels, so making online payments and retail payments through the same channel of communication, so through remote means. And so I guess that the same thing is happening in the retail sector, so making online and offline more and more connected, so that for you it's actually irrelevant if you're going to a shop or you're going to their online.
It's exactly the same. You're right. It's exactly the same. Now, obviously, this digitalization. I mean, I don't want to go into low details or privacy details, but obviously there are some challenges. Now, if you think about revealing all your body shapes and weight and sizes, this is both from a legal and from a cultural point of view is not acceptable everywhere.
Yeah, but it might be more acceptable now that it becomes a sort of need, because I don't know if the alternative, and so it might be. It is possible that the COVID is leading to a sort of cultural shift that otherwise would have taken maybe.
Would have taken, yeah, of course, it would have taken longer. I think culturally, these things will become more acceptable when people will find a solution to a problem, or some kind of interest in sharing all their personal information.
Absolutely. Okay, Luca, this chat was absolutely interesting, and I'm sure that we will have opportunities to talk together again in the future.